Plea bargain gained notoriety in Nigeria when it was first used by the EFCC in 2005 to settle the case of corruption against former Inspector General of Police Tafa Balogun, who was convicted for stealing assets worth over $130 million. After a plea bargain arrangement, he got away with imprisonment for 6 months and an order to forfeit the assets traced to him. In the same 2005, a plea bargain agreement was also used to resolve the corruption trial of former Governor Dipriye Alamiesia of Bayelsa State, who was convicted for stealing public assets worth over $100 million. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison, and he also was ordered to forfeit all the proceeds of crime traced to him. The plea bargain arrangement was again used in the case of Emmanuel Nwude, the former single largest shareholder and director of Union Bank, who backed a 25-year jail term for what has come to be regarded as one of the largest advance fee fraud scheme in the world. A Brazilian bank was looted to the tune of $242 million. After the plea bargain arrangement, however, Mr. Nwude surrendered majority of his assets towards settling the case. In 2008, the former governor of Edo State, Lucky Igbinedion, got away with a fine of less than $20,000 on conviction for theft of public assets and breach of public trust. Fast forward to 2010, former Oceanic Bank boss, Mrs. Cecilia Ibru, in another plea bargain agreement, was convicted of stealing assets worth over $2 billion and sentenced to 6 months imprisonment, a term that was mostly served in a hospital. Most of these outcomes have attracted sharp criticisms from the public in a country where the less privileged spend an average of 2 years and more in pre-trial detention on mere suspicion for crimes of petty theft. But it appears that this may just be only one of several worries with the issue of plea bargaining. There is an allegation of fraud trailing one of the plea bargain arrangements.
When you talk about plea bargain, that's the greatest fraud that has been introduced into a judicial system. There is a case in which there is a plea bargain agreement signed by the chief law officer, signed by Mrs. Wasiri, signed by Mrs. Ibru, and some of the items listed in it include the sum of 7.6 billion. After the plea had been signed, the money was never remitted to the central bank. Government agencies are looking into it. Some people have admitted that the money never went.
It will be recalled that the former bank chief, Mrs. Cecilia Ibru, was convicted by a federal high court sitting in Lagos after she pleaded guilty to an amended 3-count charge of alleged abuse of office and mismanagement of depositors' funds. Efforts by Channels Television to get confirmation from the EFCC on the substance of Professor Adesonya's claims did not yield much. But the spokesperson of the agency, Mr. Wilson Uwajare, said that all questions about assets recovered through plea bargaining should be directed to the Central Bank of Nigeria. But the Director of Corporate Communications of the CBN, Mr. Ogochukwu Okorafor, says the CBN has nothing to do with issues relating to assets recovered by EFCC through plea bargain, and that the matter should be referred to the Attorney General of the Federation. Professor Koinsola Ajayi, a senior advocate of Nigeria, was one of the lawyers who negotiated the plea bargain arrangement on behalf of the EFCC and Mrs. Ibru. And here is how he reacted to inquiries on the issue.
I'm not sure that you're correct, that some of the assets have not gotten into the hands of AMCON, maybe because AMCON is busy or it's sorting itself out. Tomorrow, if you deal with those assets, you deal with nothing because they belong to AMCON. So maybe the world should know, buyers should be aware, all the assets fabricated to AMCON belong to AMCON.
I have documents supporting everything I say, but I don't want to preempt the investigation. But if I have to, I will use the documents.
What may just be the way out is for a request to be made for the details of the matter on the basis of the Freedom of Information Law. Shola Sheyeli, Channels Television News.